I was going to go out on the porch with you, but it's so windy. But got a great view though, right?
Oh my God, that is phenomenal. I love
Yeah, yeah. We built the. It's kind of like a boutique hotel, but it's called Page's Retreat, and we're going to do DDP Yoga workshops and stuff down here at the Panama City Beach. Let's see, I want to go here. Okay, perfect. There we go.
it. Yeah.
All right, I'm good to
That's a
go.
great looking setup you got there, man. How long you been there?
Literally just moved in. Literally just moved in. Got to get this right here. Now I see. Okay, here we go. Now I'm set.
There you go. You look great, dog. You look great. I got to tell you, I sent you the interview. We had Goldberg last week, and
Yeah, I saw it. It was good.
you know,
It was good.
he gave you great props, man. He said that when he got into the business, he said that you were really one of the first guys that kind of like took him under, you took him under your wing. You helped him grow in the sport. You helped him understand the sport. I mean, Bill and I crossed a lot of things off. We talked about his work ethic. We talked about how some guys didn't like working with him, but he gave you amazing props. I mean, I thought that was pretty good.
I met Goldberg. I met Billy at a place called the Gold Club, a gentleman's club, it was me and Bischoff.
Hey, DDP, I only heard it's in Atlanta. That's all I know.
And he was standing right next to me, and we just hit it off. Like this is probably 4 years before he ever came in to WCW, and I even introduced him to Bischoff. I was like, this kid. I mean, I know when you're not. I know you love football. You're freaking. I followed you as a Georgia dog, back in the day. And I said, but when you're ready, bro, I said, let me know because I'm here. Let me introduce you to the boss. And I introduced him to Eric, and then years later, I think it was Sting and Lex brought him in. I think it was, and he went down there because he came in with a pedigree, so he wasn't just somebody off the guy who just rolled in and decided because he had muscles he was going to play. He was going to be a wrestler, and he wasn't a fan growing up. I think he talked about that, but he was a phenomenal athlete, and I would go down to power plant, and it was towards the end of my time down at the power plant. I literally. If I wasn't on the road, I was in the power plant. I was the first to come. I was the last to leave. So I caught Billy just coming out there at a time, and I was like, I saw he was coming in. I was like, I'll come down there and I'll work with you some, and it really paid off when it was time for us to finally work together because he was at that time so green. I mean, he was in the business less than 14 months when when he had the title and we were going for the Halloween Havoc. It's one of my favorite matches, and he has really great memories of it too. So. It was well worth the time spent. Let's put it like that.
I'm going to tell you a story here, and I want you to kind of hook me up on this here because I got signed by Cowboy Bob Orton, and I was trained by Ole Anderson, and I went down to the power plant. There was this blonde-haired kid who used to be in the ring. I can't remember who the kid's name was, and he was the guy that was in the ring there training us, and Vader came down there. I think it was.
You sure it was a Sarge? You sure it wasn't Sarge? He had short blonde hair.
I think it was. He was a shorter guy.
Oh yeah, stocky. Like if he'd have been like he was about 5'7" ish, maybe 5'8", but if he'd have been like 5'11", or 6 foot, that cat would have, he'd been given the opportunity because he could work his ass off.
That
but he
Ultimate Warrior was in there with us during this crew. And I don't know
how I missed that.
I'll tell you this. Let me throw this at you here. I tell people this. I've been to 7 NFL training camps and through 7 NFL training camps. The toughest stuff I've ever done in my life is getting in the ring when I wrestled in Europe at CWA for Otto Watts and them guys.
Yeah.
And being trained at the power plant I mean, dude, how's your body holding up now? I know we're going to talk about the yoga,
Yeah.
but wait,
Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to, But let's talk about all of that for a second. When you were there, was Harold Hogue, aka Ice Train, there?
Yes, he was there. Yes.
Yeah, he just passed last year. He was one of my closest friends. I got him the gig. Yeah, I see this kid. He's got 25 legit inch arms, barrel chest, and just charisma for days. Ice Train, he later they called him Smooth, because in real life he was a smooth character, man, and he was a bigger than life personality, but he was so focused on being I'm a tough guy wrestler. Just be you. And he got it after he was done with it. You know what I mean? Because he got over in Europe, and it was towards the end of it, he was starting to get it, but then they only give you so many tries, But I was literally just talking about him right before we had this talk here. But he had all the talent in the world too. He could have really been somebody. It just he didn't, like Goldberg. Like he got it. Like he got that. He flipped that switch and he just was Bill, amped to the gills, and that's what you want to be, because every guy that you've ever seen, that you've ever looked up to. From Diamond Dallas Page, to friggin' Stone Cold Steve Austin, to The Rock, they are playing themselves amped up. Nobody can survive at that level like that all the time. Though some guys try and they burn out.
What do you make of you being named one of the 4 greatest workers? And I see why now, because you're so open. I'll tell you what people don't realize in here right now. Not every wrestler is like DDP and opens up doors for you. That doesn't work like that. That's not how that business is. For you saying that the way you do, I think that's a tremendous honor that you were considered one of the 4 greatest workers in the history of wrestling, especially
not the history of wrestling, history of WCW, maybe.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys who I know were much better than me, and and they're just to be part of the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, that's a big deal. Dusty used to say to me, D, there's only 2 things that are real in this business. That first world title and that Hall of Fame ring. Because it's like our Oscar, So, along the way, getting the world championships, they're like our Oscars, our Intercontinental or United States champions, like an Emmy for us. It's like, you're drawing money, man. You're drawing ratings. People care, and some guys, they never get above that level. And it's not their fault. It's how the bookers see them. Like when I accepted my Hall of Fame entry in the WWE, it was one of the best things. It was the best, hands down, the best thing I ever did in the business. Wow. Because it encompassed everything, and it's my only voice in my brain before I walk out there. The story I tell myself, the only story, was this is going to be the best thing I have ever done in professional wrestling. I'm going to blow everyone away. I'm going to make them laugh. I'm going to make them cry. I'm going to inspire them. And that's the beauty of being able to go out there and do it. And that's how I talk when I do corporate speeches or whatever. That's the same goal that I'm ever going into. But for that night, going in the Hall of Fame, it was a big deal. And Eric Bischoff, you couldn't have been teed up any better. And you're not supposed to go more than 15 minutes. And this happened the night before. And they assign you a writer. And mine was this guy named Foz. And Foz came up to me the night before, and he says, "So DDP, you want to get together and get a few notes down?" I went, "Foz, are you really telling me like you don't think this was written like 3 months ago?" Like, I've just been refining it, but it's been long. He goes, "So what do you got, about 12, 15 minutes?" I said, "Fuck no. I got like maybe 28, 29 minutes. He's like, "Oh, D, you got to get it down, blah, blah, blah." I was like, so that night I went back and reworked it. The next morning he calls me. He goes, can I come up and hear the speech? And I said, well, I'm almost done with it. He goes, no, the first one you did. I said, yeah, come on up. And I pieced it back together for the first one. And man, because I put, impressions into it and, behind the scenes stuff that nobody really knew, and then just stories and being grateful, and I had him laughing so hard. So he goes down, he goes to talk to Kevin Dunn, who's the boss at the time. He's the head guy under Vince. And he said, I just talked to Kevin. Don't go over, you're number one. Don't go over 30. so that was cool.
What was your relationship, DDP, with Vince McMahon? Because
no, nothing. It was never. I was the enemy, and I never going in. That would have been preposterous to me. Because I'm a businessman. I was a businessman. I was a very successful nightclub business guy before I even got into wrestling. So I understand, and wrestling is a work, but if you're going to friggin' never get a break to get a win, I had made myself, and I didn't do it without the help of the Dusty Rhodes, who was my mentor and brother, Jake the Snake Roberts. Those are my two guys. But also Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Those guys were brothers of mine. We were all at the bottom together. They were above me because I was just coming in as the manager at 35 years old. That's when I went full-time into wrestling, 35.
That's insane.
With no pedigree, but to have the being 35 and being in the business since I was 31 as a manager and color commentator, it helped me, but it also hurt me, because nobody wanted to sell for the manager. Nobody, so I had to really get in the gym and bulk up, and none of those guys knew me as far as, I'm playing a character if I'm playing a chicken shit heel. But if you're in my nightclub and you start some shit, I will be the first one over there, and I'll be talking to you. I will hopefully talk you out of it. But if you don't, you're gone. I don't give a fuck who you are, unless you're Dan Severin or something like that. You know what I mean? I really tried just to talk, which Dan would never do that because he's such a classy guy. But they didn't know, So starting at 35. I can't tell you how many times my body hit that mat that first couple of months. And I thought to myself, man, this fake stuff hurts like hell.
That's what I said.
So
I never in my life ever have been more hurt. And I tell people, look, the NFL was awful and hard, but wrestling, it totally finished me off. DDP, was there a signature match that turned it for you, where you went like this, all the things that you were just saying? Hey, 35 years old, I'm a guy sitting behind the mic, I'm more that dude. Was there one moment for you, though, when all of a sudden that led to you wearing that WWE Hall of Fame ring? Was there something that was there?
Well, this was the biggest thing. Without having this, meaning the diamond cutter sign that people could do, that they could get involved with, and they wouldn't let me beat anybody because the bookers, the guys who wrote the Who Won and Who Lost, they didn't believe in me. They didn't, especially now. In 1996, I was going to turn 40, and they don't see it. So they're not setting me up to fail, but they're not giving me shit. And the bottom line is, They did put me over in this thing called Lord of the Rings, which was too much like King of the Ring. So they had to scrap that idea. But I was the last one to actually do it. Only 3 people did it. And who won it was Sting, Dusty, and me. But when those 2 won it, it was all top guys. When I won it, Harold was one of the guys in it, Scott Norton, Barbarian, nothing but mid-level to lower mid-level card guys. So it's not like it's going to give you a boost. But man, I just thought, you know what? they can't beat me right now. So because I've just had this deal, so they just can't start beating me again. And I just put together a campaign of whenever I friggin' beat somebody with a diamond cutter, it was going to be a different diamond cutter. And if you watch the crowd from the mid 1996 to the end of 96, it gets bigger and bigger. I mean, not just the crowds, but the people who were throwing up the diamond cutter sign. And Eddie Guerrero and I wrestled Halloween Havoc 1996. And Eddie was supposed to go over in that match because I'd gotten him a couple of times and never really beat him, but always left him lay in or whatever. But when it came down to him getting his flowers there, he's supposed to go over, but he did that dive off the top rope down to me on the floor, and he, when you bust those ribs, not break them, just tear that muscle, that white muscle where there's no blood, it's hard to breathe. And Teddy was such a tough son of a bitch, man. And he kept going. I never knew he was hurt until I go to pick him up, and we're about to do something, and he says, diamond cutter. I go, no, Eddie. He goes, diamond cutter, diamond cutter. And I knew he wasn't calling it to kick out when he's doing it like that. I went, okay. I took a step back and just hit him with it, rolled him over, 1, 2, 3. And that gave me a different level of credibility because Eddie was atop of the middle of the card. He never got his shot at where he belonged until he went to the WWE. And that brings it back to Vince. When Vince can create you, then you're golden. But if you've already been made somewhere else, he wants to strip you of that so that he could make, if he decided to make you, then if you got over, he owns your thing. So if you're called the Butcher, you can't be called the Butcher anywhere but the WWE. It makes sense, understandably, because it's his brand that made you, so you don't get to take his brand. And I appreciate that. But I made sure through my whole career, I owned my name, I owned my sign, and the diamond cutter. Wherever I was going, that no one's doing that but me. And when it came down to as far as that time period when I've won the Lord of the Rings, so I'm kind of like maybe not the bottom of the middle of the card, maybe I'm the middle of the card, but now they've got to give me wins. So for probably 7 weeks or so, I get to beat no one except a enhancement guy, a guy is going to lose. So what I did to get the reaction was I would go out there and I would watch Ric Flair do it. If Ric Flair wanted to make a Joey Maggs, who was a level above an enhancement guy, a great kid, everybody loved him. Flair especially loved him. I watched Flair go out there and do a 20-minute Broadway with him. Wow. He's an enhancement guy, Of course, figured at the end, Flair slips over whatever, but he gives him 20 minutes, and friggin', I can remember one of him getting, not yelled at. You don't yell at Ric Flair, but like, Rick, what are you doing? And Rick was doing what he wanted to do. He went out there and made him. So I learned lessons from guys like that going, wow, that's really smart. He can make that guy. And so I went out there and I would pretty much make whoever I was working with, I'd friggin' start off because I was a heel. I'd start out beating them down, then boom, I'd start, slip on a banana peel, then bing, bing, bing. And it looks like they got me. And boom, we go into a diamond cutter and the roof would blow off. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I first did that, nobody did it, right? And I couldn't understand it because somehow you get somebody to do it. It was 13 different times, 13 different matches, like whether it was in TV or off TV, and no one did it until I filmed every single match I ever had, Danny. So I've got the camera, this one particular house show where there's no cameras, I'm scanning and filming everything. And it goes through the crowd. And I threw it up and bang, I came right back down. And when I played it back, I thought it was like someone was sitting down. You could see it, a father and like a daughter starting to raise their hands, but I came down so fast, so did they. I thought, wait a minute. The next time I go out there on TV, I want to throw it up, 1001, 1002, 1003, bang. And the reason why they get, I start to get pyro and explode off the stage. The first time I exploded off the stage, I tripped and I caught myself. So it looked like I was blown up. I thought, fuck, I'm going to keep doing that. So the people doing this put me in a spot. And Eric Bischoff and I were best friends, but he said it in my Hall of Fame. I'm about to put out an episode. I call it DDP's Gauntlet. And it's not just a podcast, an interview. We work out. You go through the gauntlet. You go through what I go through. And it's cold plunging and hypoxia training, like you're climbing mountains, but you're doing the bike and the backwards treadmill. And then we do DDP Yoga. We do power cuffs. I hang you upside down with a yoga swing, all sorts of different shit. But it's little pieces of that. And Bischoff and I are doing one. It'll probably be out this week. And Bish, we started talking about, like, when you inducted me, you said that a lot of people think that, he gave me, things as we were buddies. He said, nothing could be farther from the truth. He said, Dallas had to work.
Yeah.
At least 2 times harder. I was thinking, I said to him on the show, I went, 5 times harder. Yeah. I had to work 5 times harder to get him to back me up.
You were never pushed.
Never, until the NWO thing, which was my idea. Huh. I just had Kevin pass it because Kevin's like, I love it. Go tell Bishop. I go, I ain't telling Bishop shit. I want to tell Scott. And I was like, bro, I got to tell Scott because he's taking the diamond cutter. If he decides, he'll do it. And he goes, wait a minute. Do you not think he remembers when he couldn't get a job? Nobody would call him back in New York or Atlanta. And you got him in. You changed his look. His wife's pregnant with her fucking first son. You don't think he wants to pay you back? Go tell Bishop. I said, no, I'm going to tell Scott. I tell Scott, he goes, I love it. He goes, go tell Bishop. I go, I'm not telling Bishop anything. What was really cool about those days, that the WWE, as the boys, they didn't have this. We had this. TNT or TBS, if it started and it went from 8 to 11, if the show ended at 11 or 11:05 or 11:10, whenever it ended, it started all over again. For the West Coast. So we would go back to the bars, and that bar in the hotel, unless it was a fun town to be in, but if it was just a regular, Des Moines, Iowa or something, we're going to the hotel bar. And we're going to, we drink and eat and watch the show back and talk about it. And that's when Kevin pitched the whole NWO. I turned on the NWO.
That is a fabulous story there. Let me ask you, I heard Cody Rhodes talk about you and the impact that you've had in his career. Why was that important for you to be such an influence with him?
Well, originally I started to do it because what Dusty did for me. I mean, like, I can't even tell you a tenth of the stories in that 2-hour friggin' podcast of the times I had with Dusty, but he man, I could call him at any time, and sometimes he would always call me back. And I'm talking about from the back in the Florida Championship Wrestling days when I'm making $50 to be a color commentator and manager, and working with Dream back then. And then he brought me into WCW, and he was there for me a lot of points where no one believed. Jake was too, and in the beginning, I did it because of Dusty. And after about a year, I was doing it because of Cody. Because everything that he's living, like the people who are just watching now and over these last couple of years and becoming Cody fans, they don't know like the real history of like where he started with WWF or WWE, and that he was a mid card guy. He was never going to get past the mid card. And I tell people all the time, the people who say I believe it when I see it, they never see shit. But the people who say I believe it because I see it, Cody Rhodes saw it. He saw him in the main event spot. He saw him being one of the biggest stars in the fucking world. And if you go back to him as a kid, and I'll tell you a story about it. I'm getting ready to go WWE, and like I said, Vince just wanted to beat me down, and not me. Whoever the first WCW guy, if it wasn't me, it would have been Booker. Okay, if it wasn't me, it would have been Book, and Book would have still outlasted it because he was so much younger. He was 15 years younger than me, and I'm getting ready to get in the ring at Dusty's Turnbuckle Entertainment, and Cody gets out of the ring, and he's just in there, screwing around a little bit. He's 14 at the time, and I always called him Young Buck back then, which is kind of crazy considering his biggest shine ever was with the Young Bucks. Yeah. That's what really started that snowball. And those guys were over insanely at that time, especially in those markets that they were in. And I said to him, Young Buck, when are you going to start football? Because his dad would always coach the football team, and he loved football. And he said, I decided I'm not gonna play football this year. I'm like, what? You love football? He goes, yeah. He goes, but you know what? I'm a sophomore this year, and I don't think I'd really be able to make any kind of impact in football, but I think I can in wrestling. I've already set my goal. Not this year, but next year, I'm going to be state champion. I went, wow, really? Okay, great. If that's going to take, he goes, of course. He understood work ethic at a different level very early on. And over that period, man, that kid would get up at 4:30 in the morning, eat breakfast, and be down and running on the track and doing all his drills and all that stuff like you hear, like, God, I can't think of his name right now. Friggin', it's so ridiculous. Kobe Bryant. Could have got black out there. Kobe was the most insane, like Tom Brady, insane work ethic, like guys to think that they show up in LA, they think, well, I hear he's got a tough work ethic, but we'll see. Because I'm going to be there at 7 o'clock and practices until 11, and they get there and he's got ice on his knees because he got there at 5, and that's the way Cody was. And he worked so hard. And at some point, I'm living in LA at the time because I'm done wrestling by that next year. And, he's on a roll, like 11-0. And I call him and he's 20-0 and he's 30-0. And he said, I call him up and I'm like, hey, Young Buck, man. I already know he's still undefeated, but I always just play it down a little bit like his old man would do. And he said, oh, Dallas, you just don't know. I just had the journal, the paper was out here doing a big story of me and Dad. Instant eyewitness news. Oh, it's so amazing, man. You just don't know. And I went, I think I have an idea. I think I had a couple world championships. Dad, I don't mean it like that. He was always such a polite kid, And I said, hey, I've already busted your chops. I said, listen, if you end up in the States, if you end up in the finals, I'll be there. He goes, you'll come in from LA? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I went there, watched him go 48-0. Now, wow. Here's the best part of that story. The next year, my buddy Marlon tells me that did you hear Cody lost? I went, really? So I call him up. I go, hey, Young Buck, what's up, buddy? He goes, Dallas, I lost. I fucking lost. I said, thank God. And he said, what? Why would you say that? I said, Code, do you think you learned anything from winning? You don't, bro.
Great.
You learn from losing.
Absolutely.
You learn from falling down. You learn from making mistakes. That's how you can't be afraid to fail. I said, what did you learn? So we talked about that. But what it would really turn out that would really be his secret weapon. At some point, he realized that these kids he's facing, that they know they can't beat him, so they're not trying to beat him. What they're trying to do is not get pinned.
Right.
So once he realized that, he'd let him up, and he'd take him down, and he'd let him up, and he'd take him down, and he'd let him up, and then eventually the other guy's gassed. He ain't gassed, but the other guy is, and most of them got pinned.
But these are great. I mean, to be able to lean on guys like your dad or his dad and you and other people that were in the business, that success, like you said, man, I mean, that's something people think that there's a yellow brick road for it. There's not. You have to go you have to go through the failures, man. People learn more from failure than they do from success. You're so right. I got to ask you a couple more questions.
Well, let me just finish that, because here's the beautiful thing. I go there for his second, state championship. He's facing the kid who beat him, who is 47-0. Cody's 46-1. And when he saw me up in the stand, Dad, get Dallas down here. At the ringside, there's 5 chairs for the family members for who's ever in the state championship. And Grandpa had to get up, and I went down there, and I watched him just control that kid. I felt bad for him. He made a mistake by beating him.
I love that. Here, I'm going to get to the yoga here in a second, but you mentioned something, Eric Bischoff, which completely is one of the greatest, bookers and one of the greatest architects at putting matches on here. And let me ask you this: how do you think Triple H is doing with the sport right now? And how do you think where the WWE is right now when it comes to these guys? Because help me out here. Maybe I'm old man, get off my lawn. It just seems like guys like you, Cactus Jack, and some of the greatest workers, Bret Hart, whomever you want to name, there was a different approach to it now. And again, I'm not taking anything away from these guys. They look like great athletes. But I don't know. I mean, the shows just don't look the same as they did when you were in the matches.
Different. It's different, but I'm going to tell you, they've created their own thing.
DDP, I guess it's like me talking about when I played in the 90s in the NFL to what you're looking at today in the NFL, because you don't have the contact that you had back when we played.
But a better example would be the NBA. Look at the NBA, and friggin' these guys aren't playing the same game that friggin' Jordan was playing against the Detroit Pistons, right?
Yeah,
they're the same game. But you know what though? These kids are so good.
Yes.
I mean they aren't just the purest shooters. So many, like, that's one of the best NBA series. It's one of the best ever when it comes to competition. There's a couple blowouts, but I mean, at Indiana they were never, they could have been down 18 and okay, how much time is there? Is there 2 minutes left? Okay, then they're fucked. But if there's like 7 minutes left, not necessarily. And then for Halliburton to get hurt. So it's a different game. And that's what it is in wrestling right now. These kids, to me, as far as athletes are concerned, blow us the fuck away. Yeah. I mean, that's where there's no even competition, because there used to be one back then, a guy named Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero or Shawn Michaels. These guys were insane. Those guys would shine in every, it wouldn't matter where they were. But my point is that those names right there, like if Rey Mysterio would have been a gymnast, he'd been a gold medal gymnast.
Amazing.
So, and Eddie Guerrero too, same thing. But they chose wrestling instead. Today, there's 2 matches that go on, and I think they mix completely beautifully when you finally get to the main events, there's the old school match where you get to see some story and heel and blah blah blah, and then there's what I call the video game match, where it's one bump into another bump into another bump into another bump, and the people love that though. When they chant "This is awesome," that's what they're watching, because pretty much take the guys from 50 and up out, and everybody who's 49 and under, they play video games, or they have at one time or another. So the fact that these
DDP, it just looks cookie cutter to me. I mean,
everything. Everybody has their own friggin' view on it. But for me personally, like, I look at, like, these fuckers are unbelievable. And there are people who are out there who are, as we would say, and Roman Reigns would be like the king of this. He's reality based.
Oh yeah,
like Jake the Snake Roberts, Diamond Dallas Page, Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys like that are reality based characters. I wouldn't do that because that doesn't make any sense to me. But these guys, like Cody, is the first. And when I say white meat, I mean like chicken, as opposed to white meat. But he's one of the very few, like, white meat babyface. John Cena was, until, and I'm sure I've heard a few of those interviews. John pretty much shooting on that shit, and he carried that company on his back for over 12 years, and I could never understand Cena sucks. Let's go Cena, I get that, but Cena sucks. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you looking at, man? Not only can that guy work good enough, he's believable as hell, and he's one of the best promo artists ever.
Absolutely.
Like, ever. So I never understood that.
What do you think of the way Triple H puts the matches on?
I love it. I loved it because he knows how to go with the times. He's helping to create. You have to understand, Triple H is one of the first, like, bookers, like the lead guy that was friggin' top talent besides Dusty Rhodes.
That's right.
And he takes a lot of Dusty stuff with him. Like, I can remember when Dream, and he told me, I want to say it was Stargate, but it was a big Stargate, the original Stargate. Like, he had all his book and all his notes, and he'd signed it and gave it Triple H. Like, that was a big deal, man. Him and Triple H were very close. Very close.
I did not know that there. I mean, hey, I got to ask you two last questions here. Okay, so Goldberg is going with Gunther, and I guess some people are giving people shit about him just all of a sudden fighting for the championship. And this is what he said, and I want to get your take on this. He said this to me, and I happen to agree. Guys like yourself and guys that have established and have the equity in the sport, he goes like this, bro, I don't have to fucking wait in line. I don't have to wait in line. I spent my whole backside on my back waiting in line. I'm going to get shot to the front here, and I don't give a crap what people are saying here. I don't care what Bully says. But you don't like it? That's tough shit, man. I'm going right to the front.
I think that Bill was a phenom. I mean, the way he came in, if it was the Ultimate Warrior, who literally couldn't work a lick next to Bill. I mean, Bill could work 10 times better than Warrior could. Warrior would go right to the front of the class. And I thought it was a bold move for the world title because, wow, because now you don't know what's going to happen. Because for the business, normally you would say, well, Bill's going to put freaking Gunther over because he should.
Yeah.
But maybe we're in Atlanta. Do you really beat the biggest babyface in Atlanta besides Cody Rhodes? Do you do that? I don't know. But now you don't know. And that's when the shit works. Like the shit between Rock and and Cody, like that shit's reality based. And that's why it works so well, because I'll give you the best example. When a guy named, I can't remember his name, when, and I always go back to, God, let's see, Adi, what's the main guy from TKO? Ari Gold. I know they're tough because the guy who used to play him, Jeremy Pippen. They're like he was playing Ari Gold's spot for that Entourage show, which I love Entourage. So that's Ari Gold is the man. Okay, he's the man. Like the two of the biggest, Endeavor and William Morris, from what I understand, owns both of that, plus UFC, now WWE. Who do you think he wants to go against Roman coming in? Oh, how about the biggest star in the world? Who's one of us? The Rock. Like, if I was right there with Code through that whole thing, man, and all I could tell him was breathe. Just breathe, because let's see what happens. Because they already beat you the first time. I think there would be a riot if they beat you the second. But there's only one person that could have saw that. And that's The Rock.
Yeah.
And then he's got to tell Ari that, you know what, listen to the people. Let me just go something nobody sees going on and go completely the other way and turn heel, which I heard The Rock talk about his mom was upset with. Because, his mom's been in the business the whole time, forever, But it was a brilliant move by The Rock and Triple H, because those are the two guys that made that happen. But The Rock taking a back seat for later and coming back, that was brilliant. Because you can do it anytime, Rock. You're always going to be. And when he wants to flip baby face, it'll be that fast. It'll be that fast, and just because he wants to. So I think the booking, first of all, I've been to some of the shows, and man, I have a good time every time I go. I feel totally different. For the first time ever, I don't feel like an outsider there. Because don't matter. You're in the club, but in the Hall of Fame, but you're still. You didn't get made here, so there'll always be that. But they treat me, man. Nick Khan walked up to me. I was with my wife watching the show out with the people, but not into the crowd yet, because I wanted to go up and watch it. They have seats up there for legends up there to go, who will do it? And I love to go. I want to be a part of just seeing feel it, like who's over. And Nick Khan, what a classy cat, man. He walked up to me and put out his hand. He goes, what an amazing, great speech last night for Lex, right? We had a few things back and forth, but what a classy guy. And whenever I have a chance to talk Triple H, so we go back to the power plant. When I found out I was going in, he's the one who told me, and
I loved it. I'm pressed for time a little bit here, DDP, but I do want to ask you two last ones. Lex Luger, you put him in the Hall. How important was that to you to put him in the Hall? Now, Lex is a friend of mine because he went to the University of Miami. He played college football down there too, and became a huge star WCW. And for you, how big was that for you putting him in the Hall of Fame?
It was amazing. And I'll tell you, Lex, he never saw him going himself in the Hall of Fame.
Dude, he's been
until the last couple of years. And people see this is a real Christian in every sense of the word that you think they're supposed to be, because everybody's got their own deals or whatever religion. Lex, when I say walks the talk of a born-again Christian, I mean, and never forces on anybody. He's just, and I said it, he's one of the best human beings I've ever known. Now, the other Lex, who I love too, he not so much. And he'll be the first to tell you that. It's not like I'm saying something that he won't say, But he had said to me at Sting's last match, Now they got the game, got me back in the game, and they got me my action figure, and who knows, maybe not this year, of course, but maybe next year or the year after, then maybe they put me in. Well, wouldn't it be amazing if when I get there, I could walk, get up. I saw what you did with Butterbean. Would you help me? I'm like, dude, I've been waiting for you to say this. I've been waiting a long time for you to say it. Because I was there the day he got paralyzed. And that's too long a story to tell right now, but I was there the day it happened. I was only there to do a signing in San Francisco because I had to see it for myself, because Eric Watts, one of my closest friends, who hated Luger, their entire career, hated him, wanted to beat his ass, and waited for him a couple of times. Lex wasn't aware of it, but Eric was laying for him. Later would tell me, like years ago, 17 years ago, that Lex is really a born again. He is a Christian in every sense of the word. I'm like, what are you talking about? You hate Lex. He goes, well, not anymore. Actually, we're living together. I went, what? You live with Lex? And I got to see this. So that's why I took the gig in San Francisco to do the signing, because I wanted to see Lex. And when I saw him, when I finally got the call, because the promoter knew I wanted to, he said he had a heart attack or something. The EMTs are with him. They had to break down his door. I'm walking through the door and it's broken down. Like, that's where we go back on this whole story. And Lex would have walked at least 10 to 15 feet to the stage, to the podium, except when the guy from the Uber came around with the chair. He didn't hold on to the chair as Lex went to sit down. And he goes down and boom, he took a bump, and it completely fucked him up that he could even stand up. Now he's back to, he's doing really good. He's not walking yet, but he's doing really good again. And, we get together at least once a month. He comes to, my place here and stays for a couple days, and then he leaves and comes back, and then he'll come back next month,
That's a phenomenal story.
So it was huge. It was huge.
How about this? Tell me about the yoga I see other people now from the wrestling business getting involved in it. You were like the first guy to do it. I mean, I've told people,
but I've done my own. My yoga ain't your mama's yoga. It's friggin', it literally is yoga meets rehab, meets old school calisthenics done with a slow burn movement. Because it all came off of me breaking my back and being told my career was over before there was any world championships or any of that. And I was told I was done. And I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. So if I can't get back in the ring, just like the NFL, you lose that contract.
Oh yeah, you're done.
Right. So that's the same way with us. So I had to get in, and that's where DDP Yoga comes from. And it was my first wife, who is now the COO of my company. We're super tight. My wife number 3, who's the love of my life, Paige, whose maiden name is McMahon, is no relation. Kimberly got me doing it, and I was shocked on how much it helped, but it wasn't giving me everything. So then that's where the rehab comes in. That's where the old school calisthenics come in. That's where all the stuff that makes it different. And when Jericho did it, and this is 15 years ago, and he was told he was never going to wrestle again, and he had to get a fusion. And I called him because Shawn Michaels told me he was hurt, but he's keeping it under the radar. You should call him. I called him first time ever he answered, ever a phone call I made. And he said, I was going to call you. I said, you're so full of shit. He goes, no, seriously. And so I sent him the disabled veteran I helped, that video. He called me back 5 minutes later. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. You tell me what to do, I'll do it. And all I know is Chris went from looking at like his career was over to 3 months or 4 months later, he headlined WrestleMania with CM Punk. And I just watched him. I just watched him in some match. I can't remember who it was. I think it was like Osprey. It was crazy the bumps those guys were taking. He's still working at a fever pitch level, and he's about 54 now.
I got to come clean with you on something too. I told you that I wanted to do this. I go, but DDP, I got issues in my hips. I mean, I'm walking with a limp a little bit. Okay. I mean, I have not stretched in about 100,000 years.
Stretching is just a piece of it. I stretched my whole career.
I'm not in the best shape right now. Okay. And I'm talking about, I know the weight, I have to lose it a little bit, but
a little bit. What are you weighing?
Oh man, I wouldn't even tell you.
Truth. Come on. You're going to be honest. You're going to chase shit out there.
380.
Wow, dude, you need a whole lifestyle change. And this is something I will give you and smarten you up to and show you how to do it. The very first thing that comes up on my app is the list. If you do everything on the list, you're not going to just change your life. You're going to start to own your life, which is going to build the confidence back that you had when you're younger. I mean, Jake used to talk about it all the time, but here's the deal, and I'm going to leave you with this. This is how my mind works. There's a part of the brain that's called the AMCC, and it's the anterior mid cingulate cortex. It's the only top spot in your brain that's like a muscle, and it will grow and it will shrink. And every time you say, I'm going to do that, and then you don't, it's a little bit smaller. Oh, yeah, I'll be there, and I'm gonna start tomorrow, and you don't, and it gets a little smaller, and you lose more confidence. You freaking start to think you're worthless, and your self-worth continues to plummet. But every time you do what you know you need to do, when you need to do it, and here's where it grows or shrinks, whether you feel like doing it or not, that's where it grows. And just showing up. I heard Joe Rogan say, just showing up some days can change everything. Absolutely. And that's where it grows. So you got my number. Here's what you do. I'll hook up, but we're going to do like a 30-day thing with you. And you're going to put yourself, way out there. And the first thing, you got to do the list, and then we'll talk. I'll set you up on the app, but you got to do the whole list. And we'll see how long that takes. And some of it you've seen, most of it you haven't.
What's the app? So everyone knows.
DDPyoga.com. It's always 7 days free, so you can see it and you can explore, because it's not just workouts. And no one can tell me you can't do it, because my workouts start off in bed. Like, you can't get out of bed? I got like 10 workouts for you to help you strengthen your body and get mobility back. And then you can work out in the chair. And they're called chair force. And there's like 20 of those. And then there's stand strong, where you hold on to a chair. And you know what the chair does? It brings back balance. It brings back strength. It brings back mobility. There's a guy named Mike Evans who his father's son played in the NFL. And Mike played back in 72. There was a picture of him playing center across from Butkus that he had sent me. And he played in the NFL for 5 years. And him and his son came down and worked with me. And he did not want to use a chair. But I made him use the chair to show him how much it would help him. And I think it was like 3 months later. And he said, DDPY news flash. Mike Evans wiped his ass for the first time in 3 years. I love it. It's all those little things that are the big things. Absolutely. And you at 3'8", how old are you now?
I'm 60. Yeah,
dude. You're ready for a ride down a hill that you're not even going to know how to control. If you don't take care of it now, because between 60 and 65, I'm 69. And man, I just fell down the stairs. It was dark, and I was talking to my buddy. I wasn't paying attention. And I went to grab the railing, and the railing wasn't there because I was and I went down, You saw what I did from the 3 days after that, and it's still not right. I'm about 75%, but the shit that I can still do because I keep doing it. I live it. I own it. The food you eat is shit. That's why you're 380. I don't eat shit. I can eat chocolate chip cookies, but I'm going to eat the Trader Joe's gluten-free, which are the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever eaten. I'm going to eat ice cream, but I'm going to eat keto chocolate covered pops. Unbelievable. I'm going to eat meat. I'm going to friggin' have potatoes, but they're going to be sweet potatoes. I'm going to eat real food that God created that's organic and non-GMO. So again, all that shit, there's a whole cooking section on my app that's 3 different eating plans. Like, you want to start level 1, 2, or 3, like whatever you want to do. Recipes, like we make it for you. So my daughter.
I'm going to reach out to you, brother. This has been a great conversation, man. I can't wait to post this stuff here, man. You are absolutely a friend, and I can't thank you enough. We had a great conversation. I hope we can do this again. God bless you, brother.
We can if you do the list.
No,
and from that day, it'll be 30 days later.
Okay. I'm gonna go on that app as soon as I get off here with you. Hey, Dallas, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your love, man. And I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna do the list, and I'll call you back, and we'll redo this again. Thank you so much, brother.
All right, brother. Have a great one. See ya.
You got it. That's my friend there. Absolutely fantastic stuff. That's really great. Great. By the way, I think a little bit too much. It's more like 340. Okay, it's more 340. I'm in the room there at 340, not 380. About 335. Okay. Well, my wife probably thinks she's listening. She's probably laughing with me saying that. I'm not 380. I'm not. I realized what I said, and I'm like, no, I'm not that big. I don't know if I've ever been that big. Anyway, great stuff. I mean, we're working on Roman Reigns too. How about that? That's going to be on Thursday, I believe. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate all the supers. We will see you tomorrow. We bring you the best guests in the country for a reason, because we have the best audience. 2 to 6 tomorrow. We'll see you on the flip side.